Pokemon is booming right now, but what is going on over here in the UK regarding single cards? Now, recently I went to the London card show. There will be a video coming out for you guys real soon. And I saw a lot of prices ranging from single cards all the way up to graded cards and so on and so forth. And one thing I did notice is there has been like a massive price inflation. Talking with some of the vendors there was a general consensus of the fact that they feel like everything's booming. Everything is going to the moon, even the cards which nobody really wanted, but they feel like everything is going to the absolute max, right? I mean, I spoke to one person that was selling the illustration rares from Paldean Fate. So, you know, the Palafin, the Poor Me, and the Wug Trio, which, let's be honest, are incredibly easy to pull. They were selling them at, you know, £7 to £8 a piece. A piece. You look at $10 a card. That's insane. There's no way they're that price. And talking to them, I was like, why is it that expensive? And they're like, well, don't you know, illustration rares are booming right now. These cards are going to be flying up in price. And I'm sitting there going, just because some illustration rares are popping off doesn't mean every illustration rare is popping off. So keep that in mind. It's like the Sword and Shield alt art boom. Some of the alt arts absolutely skyrocketed. But then you look at some of the others and they barely moved. In fact, they've probably gone down. So yeah, keep that in mind. But today anyway, a little bit of a rant. But today we're going to be looking at a bunch of sets in the Scarlet era. And we'll be looking at what the prices are over here in the UK. We're trying something a bit different today as well. We're looking at Collector. Now there is an app as well. People have suggested it to me to use. You can track your portfolio, as it were, of your collection, see how much it's valued and whether it's going up and down. I haven't done that yet, but you can look at the database at card values and seal product. But we're looking at card values today. Let's jump in. Okay, so we can look at Pokemon sets here. This is a collector app. I did change it to pounds because obviously we're over here in the UK. You can look at Japanese cards as well. So we might take a look at a little bit at some Japanese as well. So let's look at Prismatic. Of course, that is the new hotness right now. Everybody is losing their minds over it. And we can filter it. There's a lot of different filters we can look at, but we're going to go from high to low. We want to look at the big players, right? We can look at the Moonbryon, we got Sunbryon, whatever you want to call it, the Umbreon EX. We've got £1,282. Then when we click on it, we can get some more interesting data regarding this card. So we can see that it has dropped by about £17 recently. So this card is kind of on the decline a little bit. It's still incredibly difficult to pull. And we can see the ungraded price history. So it's sitting around about 1.2k. It has been quite steady, really. I don't know why I say it like that, but quite steady recently. And here we have the graded. So we have a PSA 10 going for around about 3-ish K. So more than the Umbreon from Evolving Skies. And it has here like TCG player listing and so on and so forth. So it gives you guys a rough idea of how much this card is over here in the UK. Big money card. And we look at the rest of them, right? So we've got the Sylveon, the Espeon, the Leafeon, Flareon. The cheapest out of all of them is the Eevee, sitting at £200, which is pretty impressive. Now I actually have the Umbreon Master Ball. This one has actually dropped. Yeah, it's dropped to 12.5%, so it's dropped £35 recently. And we don't have a graded data for this. PSA 9, no 10s. So the raw price of this has dropped, right? It was £340 and it has been going down. So it's dropped £100 in literally the past like 2 weeks, which is pretty savage. I do expect, believe it or not, when more and more of this set gets released and more of it being opened, that these cards will continue to drop. I mean, the Umbreon is literally dropping. Look at the Sylveon, my chase card of the set. So again, raw price, when did the set come out? Like the 17th of January. So we're looking at £600 and it's now around about 400. So it's dropped like £200 since release. It did go up though by 2% recently. Pretty good. And then we've got the graded price. PSA 10s was fetching a pretty high price tag, but PSA 10s dropped from 1.7 down to 1.5. I mean, 1.5 is still insane, right? Absolutely insane. Then when you look at the other SIRs in the set, they're holding relatively well. I mean, we look at the other ones that you do get in the set. I mean, the Roaring Moon I really like. This one here has dropped only a little bit, like literally a smidge. But it did come out, what, at £400? Pretty high inflated price. But let's be real, it was around 160 and now it's 140. So it hasn't really moved a huge amount. Then you go on to the Master Balls. Now, of course, with the Umbreon Master Ball, you got some of the others. The other day, I did manage to get the Glaceon Master Ball, which is a beautiful card. Glaceon's one of my favorites. But again, it has dropped, right? It's dropped 17% over the past, however long this was, maybe a month, I guess. So we're looking here, it was £90, now we're looking at 51. So that one has been falling. Yeah, when you look at the rest of the set, I mean, it's still holding good value across the board of whatever you can find. I mean, even the Ogre masks are still holding pretty good. And other Master Balls as well are doing incredibly well, which is good. And that keeps the value of the set relatively high, right, as well, if you want to try and go for a Master set. Now, these regular EXs, I find them really difficult to find. It's interesting that the Eevee's worth more than the Umbreon, but I've been finding them really difficult to pull. Even on the streams when we open them up, it's been really tough to pull some of these regular EXs. But just a normal EX Umbreon, we're looking here. I mean, it was £15. Now it's dipped below 10. I do expect it to continue to fall. And you're going to see that across the board. You're going to see the trends of these cards continuing to drop until we get more and more stock coming in, which is on the way. So overall, across the board, Prismatic is falling, but not at an insanely fast rate, but things are going down steadily. Now on to Surging Spark. Let's take a look. So Surging Sparks, of course, we've got the Pikachu coming in, sitting at £380 for this one. This was a pretty hot ticket item at the card show. We're looking at £380 there. Yeah, this was a really hot ticket item. A lot of people were after this. I did see a few of them in a 10, and I did see quite a few raw, but they were much higher than this. I mean, I think the cheapest I saw raw was probably about 400 to 420 minimum. And this card has been pretty stable, to be honest. Been bounced around that 360 to 380, 390 for the longest time, which is actually pretty good. Graded price, however, has been falling quite a bit. I mean, we look at this, it was 1.7k or 2k at one point, and now we're looking at graded card and a PSA 10 sitting at around about £800. CGC Pristine, though, is 1.4k. Wow, interesting. So yeah, overall, the graded value is falling like crazy, so that's an interesting one. Latias, I do have the Latias. Let's see how this one's been doing. So this one's fallen about 2% recently, but overall looking pretty stable. Look at that graded price though. I mean, look at that 1.6k, and now we're looking at what, 436. Savage. I mean, the CGC Pristine 1.4k as well. Wow, incredible. Milotic, this is like my chase card of the set. Beautiful card. This one's doing relatively well. It's gone up 2.5%. Graded price, however, just like all the rest, have fallen through the floor. I mean, PSA 10, 400. Now it's like below 300. Ouch. Pretty harsh one there. But overall, we've seen some climbers as well. And this set does hold good value. I know that the Ceruledge has been going up, yeah, like 5%. Now £30. So we're looking here, it was around 35. It's bounced back up around £30. And then we go up here, PSA 10, 320. Dropped though, it's down to 200, so that has fallen. CGC though, holding really well. And across the board, I mean, even just the normal illustration rares of this set have been doing relatively well. Skarmory up by 7%, we can see it climb all the way up, doing relatively well. Even the graded card is slowly climbing back, which is nice to see. Beautiful card though, really nice. Slack Off is an interesting one. This is just an illustration rare. Pulled quite a lot of these, but these have been going up quite a bit. Look at this one, guys. 16%. £9.30. This card has just been going like mad. Even the graded price. Look at this graded price. Was 80, but in a PSA 10 is 135. Holy smokes, it's just me chilling. That's wild. And yeah, I mean, across the board, all of the illustration rares are pretty good. And it's interesting to see that a lot of this set does have a few cards that are worth a decent amount. I like the Black Kyurem. I think the Black Kyurem just looks so cool, but the price is falling like crazy. Okay, on to Stellar Crown. Now, Stellar Crown has had some interesting climbers as well. Mainly the Squirrel and the Bulbasaur. The Terrabogos is holding on at £68. It's holding on. Squirrel, 65. I did see people sell this for absolutely mad money on the past weekend. It's gone up a little bit, right? It's £65. Overall, though, it has been climbing. The graded price, however, has been bouncing back. I mean, it was 150. Now we're looking at about 250. CGC, though, doing relatively well. Bulbasaur, again, another climber. Gone down a little bit recently, but it has climbed overall. And again, the graded price we're seeing there at around 200, which is relatively good. My boy Dashbun, though, is making moves. I mean, look at this jump. It was around £20 card, and it's shot all the way up to 37, so nearly doubled in price. Even the graded value of this is going up. I saw this graded at the card show. I think it was like in a PSA 10. I think I saw one for like 140, which is on the pricier side. The rest of the set, however, not great. I mean, even the illustration rares haven't been doing that well in Stellar Crown. So yeah, very interesting to see how well Stellar Crown. I mean, booster box is again more expensive, but it is falling. Going to Shrouded. There's been a lot of talks around Shrouded. I haven't really covered Shrouded really that much. We've got the Persian coming in at £53. That's not too bad. It has been doing relatively well, more than doubled in value, tripled in value even. And look at that graded price. Bang, I thought it'd be £300 in a 10. That's a big juicer. But across the board, the set's been doing well, right? I mean, you've got the Houndoom's been climbing. I mean, look at the Houndoom, right? This thing's, oh, it dropped 8% recently, a little dip. But overall, look at that. It's gone from £18 all the way up to 42. Even the graded price has been seeing some insane gains. Beautiful art as well. But across the board, I think Shrouded Fable actually has some really good expensive cards. I mean, look at this horsey. I mean, it's a £20 illustration rare. Look at it. And I mean, even graded, it went from a £53 card to a £153 card. That's a huge, huge card. The Zora, which I like, a beautiful artwork. Again, 5% climb. Seen a big jump recently, even in the graded price as well. These illustration rares, honestly, if you can get them graded and graded well, they keep climbing. Even this Monkey Dory, raw price is slowly trickling up, but that graded price though, jeez, I mean, across the board, it's just doing really well. Twilight. Twilight's going to be an interesting one. So we look at Twilight Masquerade. We can see what's going on there. So Greninja, £280. So that has, it's gone up a little bit. It's performing relatively well. The graded value of this, though, is doing incredibly well. Look at this. It's like, what, £700 in a PSA 10, pretty much. That's pretty impressive. Then we've got the Eevee. This one has been booming. £80 raw. I've been it was £100 on the card show. People were trying to sell this for £100 a card, which I thought was a little bit too pricey. It nearly dropped by 5% recently, but overall this thing has been climbing. You're looking around about £80. And then the graded price, though, I mean, this thing shot massively. It was around 100 odd, and then it went to as high as 305. It's dropped down a little bit recently. Big card, big money card, and I do expect this to do way better in the future. Then you got the Paldean, the Carmine. They've been holding relatively well. Got the Chansey, so another illustration rare that's been jumping up in price overall, going from around £7 to £23. Even the graded price going from 45 all the way up to 150. Huge, huge card. Keep an eye out for the Growlithe and the Infernape. They're both climbing as well. And the Tatsugiri. Like, look at that Infernape. I mean, it was just around £5, and now we're looking around £14. Graded as low as 40. Now graded up to 130. It's just crazy stuff going on right now. I mean, I know it's supposed to be quite tough to get them in 10s, but pretty good all around. Temporal. I love Temporal. Let's look at this. We've got the Raging Bolt coming at £80. Yeah, that's about right for the long neck boy. Doing relatively well, holding quite steady, which is pretty good. And I mean, even the graded price is shot up from 140 to now nearly $300. So the PSA 10 of a lot of Scarlet and Violet era stuff is doing really well. I mean, Iron Crown, not quite at its all-time high where it once was, where everyone was like losing their minds over it. But it's gone up by about 7%. But the graded price, though, people are losing their minds. I mean, $100. Now nearly 200. Impressive. The Ghastly, a huge illustration rare coming in as well, from £17 going all the way up to £40. This was like a £45 to £50 card on the card show. 110, 115, up to 310. Madness. Sawsbuck, again, another big illustration rare. We've seen this grow time and time again. £6, £7 all the way up to in 20s, so it's tripled in value. And then even the graded card price, we've gone from around 40 going up to around 105. So not quite as big in the graded price, still really well. And then, yeah, across the board, loads of good, strong illustration rares in Temporal. Then we're going to get into Paldean Fates. So we've got the Bubble Mew, which, of course, is one of the biggest cards going around at the moment. £331. Not too bad. Has dropped a smidge, but it's obviously jumped from that 75 up to where it is now. I mean, look at the graded price, though. Here in the UK, we're looking around about £900 in a PSA 10. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. Charizard coming in. Charizard doing relatively well as well. It was around 980. Now we're looking at double price. Graded was around 210. Now we're looking at about 510. So big money Charizard. And then again, across the board, we're seeing a little bit of movement in Paldean Fates, but it's mainly these three that are doing really, really well. Right, then we've got Paradox Rift. We're pretty much going to be going through every single set anyway in the Scarlet and Violet era. We've got Paradox Rift here. We've got Groudon coming in at £85. Big card. This is a big climber. Big climber. We look at the Otaria. This is interesting. Look at this, guys. Gone up 15% recently. This huge jump was around a £20 card. Now we're looking at 50 raw. And then here, look, it was £70 and a PSA 10. Bang. 220. Crazy. There were people selling this in a PSA 10 at the card show for 160. And I think one of my friends actually picked up. I said to him, look, 160 I think is a really good price for this card. Because this card is popping. And yeah, I mean, look at that. It's over £200 in a 10. So already got a really good deal there. And then we've got the Roaring Moon, Garchomp. You know, some other stuff's moving. You know, illustration rares across the board is moving in Paradox. Paradox Rift has some really, really strong performing illustration rares that do fetch a pretty hefty price. You know, long gone are the days where they're between £3 to £4. They're all above £5 pretty much across the board. So that's really good. 151. I know a lot of people love 151. I do. I think it's a good set. Charizard 205. Not too bad. We're looking pretty consistent with all the other cards though. They haven't really moved much across the board. I mean, the illustration rares have always sat around that 30 to 45 to 50 range, depending on which one you're looking at. Giovanni's Charisma has jumped up. This one, of course, jumped up with all the Team Rocket hype. So keep that one in mind. That this one has been climbing like crazy. But yeah, pretty much across the board, a lot of the illustration rares in this set do hold good value. But it's mainly in this big boy and the star Pokemon. So the Charizard, we're looking at, it's gone up by 2.5%. It did sit around 90 for the longest time. We're now looking at 205 raw. And even graded, it's at 260. Now we're looking at nearly 800 in a PSA 10. So yeah, pretty insane. But then you look at the illustration mirror, right? Take the Charmander. Little Charmander, £45. This thing's been climbing like an absolute beast. And then even graded was 113, and now we're looking at 200 odd pounds in a 10. Obsidian Flames. Now, Obsidian Flames is an interesting one. Charizard is climbing ever so slightly, which is pretty cool. You know, we've seen this Charizard go from around a £40 card to now a £60 card, and even graded, we're looking at 171, going up to now 350. So it's doubled in value, pretty much across the board on both sides. Ninetales doing bits. Up a little bit, but look at this. It was around an £8 to £9 card. And now we're looking at over £20. And then even here, £100 going up all the way up to 260 in a 10. I have 4 of these because I love Ninetales. I don't know if any's going to get a 10 though. They will be graded. So stay tuned for that. But I don't know. Interesting stuff. The rest of Obsidian Flames though, pretty weak. Pretty much across the board. And then we've got Paldea Evolved coming in. Paldea Evolved is getting silly expensive now and hardly a hold of. So we've got the Magikarp under 200, and then pretty much across the board, the rest of the set, I mean, it's doing okay. I mean, you got a lot of these illustration rares like Mousehold. Look at this one. Jumping up. Look at that. Was it £8 card? We're tripled in value. Even the PSA price was 113. Now we're looking over £300 in a 10. It's just madness. Magikarp, though. Let's look at the Magikarp. We have here, so it was around a £90 card, and now we're looking at 200 raw. Look at the graded. Look at the graded. The graded, it was sat at 400 to £500. Look at this now. Over a grand. 1.1k, nearly 1.2k in a PSA 10. Huge, huge card. Like, just insanity. And then we've got Scarlet and Violet base. We'll look at the promos to finish off. So we've got the Gardevoir coming in at 40, Miriam 28. A lot of these illustration rares are going up in value and they're becoming more and more popular. And they're fetching more and more of a decent price tag. I mean, look at the Drowsy. Again, we're going to look at the graded price. But look, 140 in a 10. Bang! Nearly 510. Pure sanity. Right. Promos. Promos, and more promos. This is where things get spicy. So, we have here the Pikachu and Felt Hat, £250 raw. We've got the Snorlax Pokemon Center promo 137. Charmander fetching 115. Even the Squirrel's gone up. I remember buying these for £30-35 on eBay, which was relatively cheap. Pokemon Center exclusive Eevee promo at 95. Now, I made a video talking about me and Prismatic and what I want to do with these promos. I believe that this Eevee promo, will be worth more than the Snorlax in the future. I mean, the fact is that right now, this card is fetching like £100 raw, is mental. Graded is falling though. The graded in a PSA 10 was 1.5k, but now we're looking at about 600, so it has dropped, and it will continue to drop, right? The more PSA 10s are out there, the more it will drop. Greninja, another big promo that a lot of people are after and trying to grade at the moment. I mean, this card was in a collection box. People didn't really care too much about it, but it's about £9. Now we're looking at over 30 raw, and that PSA 10 price over £200. And a lot of these are Pokemon Center promos. You know, it's one of the reasons. I mean, Kingdra, it's another one that's climbing up. Iono, this is one I'm going to be grading quite a lot. I've got quite a few of these. Gone up by 6% recently. It's £15 raw. Look at this graded price. It was around a £30-40 card. Now we're looking at more than doubled in price, triple nearly in price in a PSA 10. So Iono, big fan favorite. I've said it before in a previous video. Make sure to go out and get those milk cartons, guys. Milk cartons. For the Mewtwo, where's the Mew? Do we have the Mew from, there we go, Mew from the 151. Got up by 20% recently. It's £30 raw card. Graded was around 50-60. Now we're looking at graded, nearly 5 times his value, nearly 4 to 5 times his value in a PSA 10. So you have it, guys. Those are just some of the singles, or pretty much most of the big singles from the Scarlet and Violet era. You know what the prices are in the UK. This is a really interesting website, Collector. Go and check it out. And yeah, really good. Market's booming. You know, you can't deny it. I mean, yes, there are inflated prices, especially at card shows, but across the board, things are climbing. I will do another video where I'll cover Sword and Shield era, but Scarlet and Violet right now, I mean, it's the graded price. The graded price at the moment is just insanity. I know that a lot of people said it's hard to get 10s, or a lot harder anyway, to get 10s from Scarlet and Violet than it was Sword and Shield. Man, I mean, some of these, Magikarp 1.1k, stuff like that, it's just wild. And even just like some of the cards you may not think going up, a lot of the illustration rares are going up in price. Some sets where you may think, oh, they're not great, are now good. Across the board is just everything's going up. So keep that in mind. If you do want to grab some cards, then make sure, and you do want to get them graded anyway, make sure they're in good condition. Prices will vary, of course, depending on how good the card is. One of the reasons why I like the card show, because you can like pick up each card and you can have a look to see if you want to get it graded or not. But people do try and milk it. It's just unfortunately the way it goes. If you made this far in the video and you've enjoyed it, make sure to smash the like button, make sure to subscribe for more Pokemon content, and let me know your thoughts about what's going on right now in the UK market, and do you want to see more UK based content? I mean, I'm obviously here in the UK, it kind of makes sense, but guys, yeah, let me know. Drop me a comment, give it a like, and if you do want to see more UK stuff and me covering sealed products, Sword and Shield era, and so on and so forth, even Japanese we'll look at as well, then let me know down in the comments, because it's really interesting. And now I'm going to card shows, and I've got some stuff going on behind the scenes, which I'll show you guys soon, that also this has an effect on. It's all interesting. That's it for me, guys, in today's video. If you want more Pokemon content, make sure to click the video on the screen, and of course, make sure to hit that subscribe button. And as always, thank you so much for watching. You guys are legends, and I'll see you in the next one.